there, I'm Terry McGovern, and welcome to threehomies.com.
And hello to you, and I'm Rick Banghart.
Hi, and I'm Katya Miles. Like lots of friends, we are three amigos who decided to work on something together during the pandemic.
Yeah, and what we came up with was working on a podcast. And as I say, every chance I get, we decided to call it threehomies.com.
We discovered early on that this kind of work is, well, it's work, but it was also fun. It's fun to be doing something constructive while living in our respective houses like hobbits.
Our third episode is naturally about the plague, but not this one.
And not the Spanish flu plague of 1918, which scientists say most closely resembles the current coronavirus pandemic.
No, we're going to take a look at a plague that it was called bubonic plague. And this was also referred to as the Black Death. And I don't think there's any way you can doubt the seriousness of this plague with a name like that.
No. Our podcast has 3 parts. Terry, the actor, will look at the Black Death of London during Shakespeare's time.
Then I, the scientist, will examine the scientific evidence of plagues, their similarities and differences.
And then Katya, the Renaissance 21st century woman, looks at the positive effects of the plague. Positive effects?
Yes, indeed, positive effects. But first, Terry is going to take us back to the days of William Shakespeare, the Globe Theatre, Elizabeth I, and, well, the plague.
Now, what I'm about to show you is disturbing, but the reason I'm showing it is because there was a time when I thought it was funny. The sense of humor, the modern sense of humor of Monty Python's The Holy Grail gave us this scene. The undignified fate of victims of the London bubonic plague of 1606, the call of, "Bring out your dead." Yeah, in the movie it seemed outrageous, something that could never happen to me or to my loved ones. Bring out your dead was pure gallows humor. You know, humor that makes fun of a terrifying situation. Whistling past the graveyard, it's sometimes called. As George Carlin said, if a disaster happens someplace far away and doesn't affect me directly, I feel free to laugh at it. But now, facing a lethal transmittable disease in my own backyard, it just ain't funny no mo'. Historian James Shapiro writes about Shakespeare's work in The Year of Lear, 1606. It was a very productive year for the bard. He wrote the Scottish tragedy, Macbeth, Antony and Cleopatra, and of course King Lear. But outside Shakespeare's window, the latest wave of the bubonic plague was ravaging the city of London. The theaters, Shakespeare's bread and butter, were closed. By August of 1606, Shapiro writes, it was the height of the outbreak. Desperate London authorities were reporting more than 3,000 deaths a week out of a population of really roughly only 200,000. By the time cold weather slowed the outbreak that winter, nearly a third of the population had been struck. More than 30,000 Londoners had died. A whole 30,000 or so more were infected, but managed to survive. You get a hint of Shakespeare's awareness of the plague in King Lear. Using the plague's horrible symptoms, Shakespeare has Lear say to one of his daughters, get this, "Thou art a boil, a plague sore, an embossed carbuncle in my corrupted blood." Apparently, he was pretty ticked off at her. But then, when she dies, Lear is devastated.
"When you ask me blessing, then I'll kneel down and ask of thee forgiveness."
And then there were the plague doctors who came up with what they thought was practical attire for administering to the stricken. Coming up on the episode, this episode of Three Homies, Dr. Rick Banghart will explain just why the long-beaked masks were adopted by these doctors. But before I wrap up my segment, a reflection on Shakespeare's theater in the time of the plague of 1606 and its parallels with COVID, I invite you to get a copy of James Shapiro's The Year of Lear and discover for yourself how people like yourself learn to cope with a pandemic. It can be done. We can cope. And as Katya will tell us, we can come out stronger and better than ever before. That's a little later here. Coping is what Three Homies is all about.
You're watching 3homies.com. Visit us online at our website or our Facebook page. On Instagram and Twitter, we're at 3homies.
And please, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our videos. It's
Yeah,
a
no,
note.
I just want to insert here, pardon me, that when it says subscribe, I was always leery of that. I thought, uh-oh, credit card time. No, it just means we know you're watching and we make sure that you get each episode right when they come out. That's what subscribe is. So please do that.
That's right, correct. Yes, we just want to make sure that you get all our episodes on time.
And now, Dr. Rick Banghart, our man of science, takes a look at the biology and also the similarities in the folklore of pandemic plagues.
Ours is a time of advanced technology and knowledge. We know more today about disease transmission and treatment than ever before. But then the same was true 20 years ago, and 100 years ago, and 500 years ago. Knowledge always advances. And because knowledge advances, we can be certain that our current knowledge is less than complete. 500 years ago, this is what the well-dressed plague doctor wore. At first glance, this costume may seem silly. The bird mask, the long coat, the hat, the goggles, the cane. But each of these is an important feature based on the best understanding of the time. Plague doctors wore the distinctive bird beak mask for very practical reasons. The best medical minds of that time understood the plague based on theories developed by Galen, who is known as the father of modern medicine. He told us that disease was carried by miasma. That's a bad air or a night air. The beak was filled with herbs and spices that were thought to filter out the miasma. It also had the benefit of covering the horrible stench of the dead and dying. Let's compare that to what the men and women dealing with our current plague wear. There are remarkable similarities. Full face covering, head-to-toe PPE, advanced respiration system. While the plague doctor's costume was intended to fend off miasma, the modern-day first responder is fending off a virus. Both costumes are based on the best understanding of the time. Our modern-day technologies were unimaginable to the plague doctor, just as the technologies of the future are unimaginable to us.
That was a great piece, Rick. Great piece. Now, look, for those of you joining us today, if you would like to get in touch with us, or first of all, if you'd like to check out our social media efforts, we have a Facebook page, 3homies.com, and on Instagram and Twitter, our handle is the same in both cases, at 3homies. And we really would like to get your opinion on our efforts.
I think it's fair to say that Katya had the toughest assignment. She had to look at what, if any, good side effects of this pandemic exist. It's a daunting task.
Have you ever wondered, will anything good come out of the COVID pandemic? The answer seems easy: nothing. What good could possibly come out of a health catastrophe of epic proportions? But if you look at history, you might be surprised. Notice I did not say pleasantly surprised. The truth is, some of the good things that came out of plagues of the past are pretty ominous. There have been 3 great world pandemics of plague. They were in 541, 1347, and 1894, with sporadic episodes like the one Terry referred to in Shakespeare's time, the 1600s.
Sharon DeWitt is an archaeologist, or more accurately, a bioanthropologist. And doing what archaeologists or bioanthropologists do, she dug up the remains of Black Death victims to study the differences between the pre- and post-Black Death citizens of London. And what she found was that the health of that population actually improved. Unfortunately, not until after the epidemic.
DeWitt says, The Black Death might have represented a strong force of natural selection and removed the weakest individuals, the aged and the sickly, throughout Europe.
Yeah, and this tragic depopulation created a shortage of working people, and that shortage in turn caused wages to rise. Product prices fell too. Consequently, standards of living increased. For instance, people started to consume more food of higher quality.
Yes, this is all good, I suppose. But what good is coming out of this pandemic as we live through it? Living through COVID-19, it's not easy to find things to be cheerful about. However, the coronavirus lockdown has surprisingly good side effects. Here are 10 of the good things to come out of the coronavirus pandemic.
And the good doctor will join us to read the list. Katya?
Number 1, community spirit. Despite the fact that most people are shut away in their homes, many communities have never been closer. Community support groups have sprung up around the world with volunteers doing shopping and picking up prescriptions for the elderly and vulnerable. And the community concerts and sing-alongs that have been taking place from people's balconies, bringing people together with neighbors they may have never spoken to before.
Number 2 is reduced carbon emissions. As economies have ground to a halt, so has fossil fuel usage. Carbon emissions are set to decrease by 8% in 2020 as the coronavirus pandemic causes the biggest shock to the global energy system in over 70 years, according to the International Energy Agency. The decrease has led to reports of cleaner air in locations across the world.
Number 3, focus on essential workers. Supermarket cashiers, shelf stackers, and delivery drivers are not generally thought of as heroes. Well, they weren't until now. COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the essential roles played by key workers who we all depend on. And the work of the first responders, of course, nurses, doctors, police, and firemen, EMT, that's really the very definition of heroic.
Number 4, access to culture without having to travel. Always wanted to go to the Met in New York, but never managed to get there?
I always wanted to go to the Met, and I've never been able to get there.
You never managed to get there. Well, now you can wander through its exhibitions without paying for a flight and hotel, thanks to a free online virtual tour.
Number 5, people are sleeping better. Data from Fitbit users in 6 U.S. cities show that people are getting an average of 17 minutes more sleep each night during the coronavirus lockdown than they were before the pandemic hit. Sleep quality is improved, with users getting more REM and deep sleep. Yeah, Terry, it's your turn.
Oh, number 6, changes in working habits. Many workers have taken their office jobs home with them and are now fulfilling the same role from the safety of their home, just like we 3 homies.
7, people are more in touch with friends and family. While many are spending the coronavirus pandemic alone and unable to meet up with anyone in person, it's now possible to be more in touch with friends and family than ever before, thanks to Zoom and FaceTime.
Number 8, break in routine and time to restructure life. It's commonly thought that the time spent alone provides an opportunity to stop and reflect. With social distancing measures limiting people's lives, it's a good time to have a think about what really matters.
Number 9, clearer waterways. Alongside the reduction in pollution, clearer waters have also been spotted in locations across the globe. Look at that, clear water. Venice's waterways are clearer than they have been for years as the lockdown has halted traffic in the usually busy canals.
Number 10, the internet is thriving.
Really?
Yeah, that's right. People may be struggling with slower Wi-Fi and reduced video quality, but that's largely because internet usage has skyrocketed under the lockdown, up 25%. The reason is simple. The internet is a godsend to people who need human contact, even if it is virtual human contact.
All right. What about you personally, Katya? What good do you want to come out of COVID?
Well, thank you for asking. For me personally, I think that the age of COVID, despite the havoc visited on humanity, will be remembered as a time of great accomplishments by the human spirit. We stand on the threshold of a renaissance of personal triumph over adversity. How we deal with our situation, how we contribute to the common good, will be remembered long after we survive this pandemic. So, turn your solitude and isolation into an artistic canvas. Paint, sculpt, write, teach, sing, dance, compose, make music and dance and play. Find your inner artist and let him or her flourish.
Katya, always the optimist. Well, good piece. Really, really a good piece. Hey, I want to mention that we still have our pantry, and the pantry is just sort of it's a virtual pantry. If you were going to somebody's house, you'd bring a little gift. So we have been stocking things in the pantry. My contribution again will be a fine bottle of either Napa or Sonoma County wine.
That sounds awfully good, Terry. I'm looking forward to enjoying the real pantry experience where we can actually pop the cork on occasion. My pantry item this week is another snack item. It's a lovely peanut butter and chocolate sort of energy bar, low in sugar, high in protein. It's a wonderful little snack, and you'll see it on our website.
Ooh, hey, that sounds great. What do you got, Katya?
We all could use some extra energy nowadays, Rick. But I am busy cooking away with this family cookbook. It is Sopranos cookbook.
Hey, yo, wait, hey, forget about it.
Maroon.
Do that again. Say it again.
Maroon.
Maro, that's it.
Maroon. But you know, as you know, my family is all back in Russia. And anything that gives me family experience, and Sopranos show surely did so. No comparison with, you know, the family's business. But anyway, the family sense is just wonderful. And this cookbook that has not only wonderful recipes, and I cook a new one every week, but also great stories and anecdotes. And it's just a great addition to the show if you're a fan.
And what's the current, what recipe? I understand you went after Tony's mother's recipe, Olivia.
Oh, Olivia's mushrooms. Yeah, actually that was last week. This week I made linguine with garlic and oil, linguine aglio olios, and arugula salad with parmesan. Disappeared very fast.
What was that? What sort of salad?
It was, I think she just said it was a regular salad.
An irregular salad?
No, just a regular salad, I think.
Oh.
What
sorry.
was it, Katya?
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. There's nothing irregular about my cooking. But no. It's arugula salad. Did I pronounce my English again?
Arugula. Okay.
That's something completely different.
Excellent.
My gosh, I've been here over 20 years and I still cannot master the language.
Are you doing?
Yeah, but my ears have not been here that long.
Yeah. Right. Believe me, my Russian, I need 40 years. Okay, so before we leave, it is our tradition, this long-standing run of shows we've had, to end our show with a little satire. And they have been satirical songs about the coronavirus. This instead is a video of a news show somewhere in Canada. And I know that only because they say a boot. Of course, that could be Virginia too, couldn't it? My guess is that it's Canada, as these three newscasters end their show and they toss to a young woman, a school teacher, who has written a song for her students and for all of us about the virus. Watch.
All right, as much of the world continues on in isolation, people working from home, they're trying to figure out things to do with their family, things to figure out how to pass the time. Yeah. Lindsay and Kels, a lot of teachers have been going online and coaches trying to help out their students and their athletes. This one teacher in particular, music teacher, I thought was phenomenal. Not only did she pick up an instrument and decide to help out her student and spread some joy, but she wrote a song, and as inspiration, she was going to share what she's been going through and how it makes her feel while she is in isolation. Have a look.
Hey, so as some of you guys might know, I'm a music teacher, and I found that one of the best ways that I can process the whole transition to online learning and teaching is to write a song. So I wrote a song. I'd like to share that with you guys now. Here we go.
You know, I could have written those lyrics myself.
I have sung that song.
Yeah, I'm sure all three of us could harmonize with it. That's fantastic. Hey, everybody, we hope you're staying safe, which means one of those things again. Let's do the drill, children. You make sure that you wear a mask.
Wash your hands.
And Katya?
And stay decent.
And stay distant, please.
Oh,
Okay?
and stay decent. Yes.
As well. Stay decent while you stay distant.
Yes, over by the arugula. Okay, that's it for us. We really enjoy coming to you, and we really do need to hear from you. Please put a comment on our YouTube channel when you go there to watch the show. It's right below where you are. And if you hit subscribe, that means that we know who you are, where you are. And all we're going to do is let you know when the next episode gets here. Okay? All righty. So we do it. Now, you can't do this in reality out among the public, but you can do it virtually at home. We're going to blow you a kiss goodbye. Ready? 1, 2, 3. From 3homies.com. Stay healthy.